Welcome to the fifth video related to problem-based learning in medical education. In today's video, we will learn about how to construct and how to write a case scenario in a problem-based learning system. As you know, in problem-based learning, we have important three pillars: the case scenario itself, the students, and the tutor. In the previous videos of problem-based learning, we start with defining the problem-based learning and the theoretical foundations, and we explain the role of the students in problem-based learning. In the second video of this series, we talk about the 7 steps and the 7 jumps approach in problem-based learning, and we start talking about the role of the facilitator in problem-based learning. In the last video, the third video of the series, we talk about how experienced facilitator can facilitate a problem-based learning and the facilitation tips. In today's video, we will be explaining problem-based learning case construction. So we'll be learning about case construction in problem-based learning. And the session outline will be focusing on the following. We will explain the role of effective BBL case scenario. We'll discuss the principles in designing effective case scenario in a problem-based learning. And then during the session, we'll apply some of the criteria for evaluating the case scenario. We'll provide you with some of the criteria that can be used in the case scenario. So this will be the area that will be covered during this session today. Let us start with what is the BBL case scenario and why it is important to what is the role and the function of the BBL case scenario. Now, as you can see here in this screen, the starting point of learning is the BBL case scenario. Students receive the case scenario, they identify their needs, then they go through the 5 steps, then here, the step number 6, they self-study and they get new information. The function actually of the case scenario and the role of the case scenario related to the quality, to which quality that we are using when, or we're considering when writing the case scenario. And the quality of the case scenario is closely linked to the improvement of group discussion. And this is linked to increase in the time spent on self-directed learning, which is correlate with the outcomes in most cases. And finally, this will lead to improved retention of information in long-term memory. So a good and well-developed case scenario is the key here. And please see this picture carefully, and the key message from this picture and this slide, we need to think about the case scenario like a blueprint, like building a house or structure. If we build the case scenario with this mindset, that means it should be built carefully so that can foster the discussion, can consider the student level, can consider the relevancy in terms of relevant health problems, and can consider how we educate future practitioners. So the case scenario is a relative neutral description of phenomena, events related in some way, requiring further explanation. And the phenomena could be biological, social, or psychological. Those case scenarios may vary in complexity, openness, length, and structure according to the system of BBL in the college. And it varies from a single paragraph to long case scenario. The case scenario should be considered as a central driver for the BBL tutorial process. It's not a passive background document only. Its quality directly determining the depth of student inquiry in problem-based learning. And the need to know generated by the case is the engine of self-directed learning, motivations, and knowledge retention in problem-based learning. Based on this, we have 4 types of problem-based learning, and these 4 types are related to either the curriculum structure or the phase of the curriculum. The 4 types of BBL case scenarios are the explanation problem, the discussion problem, the strategy problem, and the application problems. The explanation problems, in which this type of problems in which students explain and understand underlying structures and mechanisms. And mostly we use this problem in the first 2 years of the curriculum. The discussion problems aim is to foster understanding of different point of view regarding an issue. And students are not expected to produce solutions here in this type of problems. Expectation is to emphasize on multiple perspectives related to the case scenario, such as the dilemma or complex cases with difficult or different differential diagnosis. The strategy problem style, in which students learn rational clinical reasonings and decision makings. And the key question here, what is appropriate course of action and why? In application problems, in a previously acquired knowledge is applied in simulated practice situations. And the aim here is to check whether students have truly mastered their knowledge, and we can use applications in the advanced phase of the curriculum, and we can use it also in a different format of the problem-based learning rather than the paper-based format. We have the multi-levels problems in which most common in medical education. For example, in phase 1, chief complaint and initial presentations in which students brainstorm initial hypothesis about mechanism. This other format of problem. In phase 2, in which we can introduce the patient history, risk factor, physical examinations, and hypotheses are tested. In phase 3, in multi-phase problem scenario or style, we can add the laboratory investigations, imaging, results, diagnosis, professionally narrowed. And in final phase 4, management, treatment, decision, and patient follow-up. So we have these 4 types, and we have another type is multi-level problems, which is commonly used in many colleagues of health science and medicine. So always we have to think about the authentic learning approach. Problem-based learning cases scenario, it could be in text format, which will be the focus on this video, or it could be virtual, using the computer, virtual reality, or virtual patient, or it could be simulated patients, or sometimes we can use other formats, such as photographs, video clip, lab data, ECGs, and so on. In the problems case scenarios, we have triggers and cues. So now Let us see the triggers. The triggers, as we discussed in the previous slides, could be either papers or ECG, simulated, patient, photographs, video clips, experiment, and so on. Now, let us ask ourselves this important question. What makes a BBL case scenario truly effective? Please stop the video here and think about the answer, or you may write down your answer. What makes the BBL case effective and good scenario? It should have clear connection with the learning outcomes. The case scenario should build on student prior knowledge. It should show growing complexity to stimulate elaboration. It should be authentic and relevant to future practice. It should stimulate self-directed learning, and it should offer motivation and curiosity. Also, it should be structured and visible within available time. It should fit available self-study time, and it should address topics related to public health relevance. These are the criteria of good quality case scenario. So, it should be realistic, engaging, challenging, set in context, stimulate discussion, open-ended, address prior set objective, logical in flow, and written in an innovative way. I highly encourage you to read this article which describes this criteria in detail. A very important thing that we have to consider is to make medical education relevant to societal needs. In 2020, with a group of educators, we co-authored this important article related to how social accountability should embed in problem-based learning, and we have developed inventory related to measuring how social accountability should be embedded in problem-based learning, considering the 4 values: relevance, equity, cost-effectiveness, and quality. I highly encourage you to read these papers, and this tool has been validated and implemented in many countries across the world. Now, the rest of the video will focus on the 4 steps we can follow to construct a BBL case scenario. Start with planning phase, constructing phase, formatting phase, and preparing for use. Let us start by these 4 phases. In planning phase, we have to define the goals, the clinical scenario, and integration across the domain. In constructing phase, we have to build a patient history, patient story, history, examination, investigations, and then develop the mini cases. For the formatting, we have to decide information release, prompting questions, and what we should present. And for the preparing for use, we have to write the tutor guide, support materials, and quality check. So these are the 4 steps that we should follow, and we will go through each of these steps. Let us go with the planning the case. The key question during the planning phase is, what is the block, module, unit name, and what are the learning outcomes? The second question need to be asked, during the planning phase, what content and principles should the case scenario embody to meet these goals? The third important question, what common clinical scenarios serve as a prototype, authentic, regionally relevant, and core knowledge area? The fourth question will be how will, for example, the biology, behavior, and mental health or population and professional ethics are integrated within the case scenario. And this is necessitates a teamwork. So the case scenario should not be written by a single tutor. The fourth question will be what clinical skills are related to this case scenario? The sixth question is how will the case link to lecture, lab, clinical skills, and other curricular elements of the week? The fourth is what keywords describe the case for the curriculum content map? And the last question is how and where will the learning outcomes of this case be assessed? These are fundamental 5 questions that should be asked at the planning phase. In constructing phase, it is very important to consider using the patient voice while writing the case scenario. So we have to avoid writing the case scenario using this style. A 26 years old asthmatic not taking her medication arrived to the ER because of short of breath. The correct style is to use patient own words, such as a 26 years old woman arrived in the ER because of short of breath, because this will stimulate hypothesis about multiple mechanisms rather than mentioning directly being asthmatic and not taking medication and so on. And we should consider this anatomy of the complete case scenario. It should consider the patient and visit information, the chief complaint using the patient voice as here, history of present illness and the risk factor, review of the system, physical examination, investigation and results, differential diagnosis, treatment and follow-up, and then the exhibit, which is maybe the X-ray image. And we can be innovative by providing links to murmur or respiratory breath auscultation, and finally, the many cases related to this case scenario. So, start with planning, then construction of the case. The third phase is formatting of the case. And we can use these 5 key decisions. What information will be provided to the student? How will additional information be revealed progressively? Should the case scenario include prompting questions? If yes, frame them. For example, what do you need to test your hypothesis? At what point should exhibit be provided? The X-ray or ECG or the report? Should supplemental activities be included, maybe like role play, video, simulated patients to add authenticity? This is very important question that need to be considered here. Now, let us see this practical guide for the case development. The practical guide, we have to establish writing team. We have to identify the objective. We have to construct a template. And we have to think about integration, adjust the case to the need, start with an engaging trigger. You can decide in the image, investigation, you can ensure approach, detective, you can ensure the objective to be represented, think about the student engagement, construct a tutor guide and review. And these are one of the published articles, very nice, 12 tips in constructing the BBL case scenario. So we have complete right now the planning, then the constructing, then the formatting. Now let's go to the final stage, is development of the tutor guide related to problem-based learning. And what the tutor guide should include. In the tutor guide, the tutors need to know what type of problems is this, what are the objectives, the concepts, the clinical problems, the intended learning issues, how should the problem be facilitated, and which learning resources are appropriate. So these very important things that need to be considered in the tutor guide. In a summary, inform the tutor to navigate through the 7 jump, what to expect in each step, stimulate questions per stage, tips for improving group process, predicted learning issues, recommended learning resource. The key takeaway from this video, the quality of the BBL case directly determines the quality of the tutorial discussion and self-directed learning. Always write from the patient perspective. The patient voice triggers in problem-based learning. Consider and review the integration. Progressive disclosure protect the need to know in problem-based learning, and this is a core engine of problem-based learning. Tutor guide is important, and use the point checklist that we have provided in this video to develop and to write your case in a good way. Now we come to the end of these videos related to problem-based learning. We start the first video by explaining the principles and the theoretical foundation. The second video was about the 7 jumps approach. The third video was about how to experience facilitate problem-based learning. And this fourth video about how to write a case and to construct a BBL case for effective learning. Thank you so much for watching this series of videos related to problem-based learning.